Welcome back to Jimani's Art. Sorry I didn't post this video on Wednesday. I've actually had a lot on my mind recently. But let's talk about some art. That's what you came here for, right? Okay, here we're continuing with the reveal panel of Dove Soar Monroe, aka Thunderdove. Now, this was my reworked version, and now I'm finally doing the shading. Now, if you noticed, I am doing a lot of erasing in the shading here. This was done before I figured out I can use the select tool to actually shade just in the area of the certain color / section I wanted to. A friend of mine just recently asked me, why do you do so many wrinkles in the clothing in your drawings? I gave him the short answer, because I like the style. The longer answer is, if you actually study fabric and the way it moves and the way it lays down, the folds, the creases, everything about it, that to me is so interesting. I try my best to capture that in every type of clothing I do. I even try to think about the thickness of the clothing and exactly how much fabric is done in there, where exactly it is in the body. I take a lot of consideration in my drawings. Just like I said in my second video, the shadowing of Jimani, I actually love to rework and rework again the renderings and the drawings I do. Especially around the folds. I really want to get the depth and the real feel of the clothing, almost like you can reach out and touch it. Now, the sleeves on this blouse that Dove's wearing is actually wizard sleeves. When I was going to high school in the early 2000s, the wizard sleeve fad came back big time for women. And almost every girl in my high school had one or two blouses that had big old sleeves. I thought they looked really cool. There I go with all the erasing again. Gosh, that took up so much time. Okay, so here's the face. I first do, of course, the basic shadowing, and then I go in there working it bit by bit. Sometimes I've noticed what I worked on it was a little too rough, so then I usually erase it with a bigger, softer eraser. A little tip. The more darker lines, the older the face looks. The lighter the lines and the less the lines, the younger the face looks. And then I went on to the hair. First with the bangs, which personally I like the style of the bangs that I came up with. And then I went into each individual section of the hair, selecting it and then shadowing it. I made sure that I just did the shadows on this part. Now, if you noticed, I'm shadowing with the lines that I already created. so it can give more of a uniform swoop. And it gives it way more texture. Now, in all honesty, sometimes I have a problem with shading and sometimes drawing the top of the head, especially with individual hair, because I kind of get a brain fart, to be honest, sometimes, in exactly how hair comes out of the head and how it lays down. Because in the front, we definitely want to show it coming out of the head, especially with the type of hairdos I have. And we also want to show it cascading down on the head as well. So it's a good give and pull, a lot of practice, and trust me, no matter how good everyone thinks your art is, you're never going to get it just right. Here's a little tip. When you're shading, you have to think about where is the light going to hit the hair. And you have to think exactly about the texture of the hair. If it's curly and wavy, then typically the wave that is coming at you has the light hitting it. And everything else is usually shaded around it. Here are some last minute touches I did to really liven up the rendering of this drawing. I shadowed in the eyes. Now this is part of my favorite parts of this rendering because it really brings a soul to this person. Same thing with the lips. It actually allows the lips to look more, dare I say, voluptuous. And at the same time realistic, with still the cartoonish style I like. Little tip, why don't you guys take turns in studying your own body, looking at your eyes, looking at your lips, take sketches, and trust me, it'll help you out a lot. So here it is. Dove Zora Monroe, aka Thunder Dove. This is her reveal panel in my comic book, The In-Siderz. As you can see, I actually did some highlights, which I either couldn't record or I forgot to record. Thunder Dove is actually one of my very first original characters that was later on developed into the current comic book that I'm working on. The first incarnation was known as the Christian Avengers, and then I developed them into the In-Siderz. So here's a little sneak peek of the In-Siderz issue 1. Hey, you guys made it all the way through the video. Once again. Good for you. Oh, look at ya. You're liking you some art. Well, if you did like it, then go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and don't forget to check out my Instagram. Also, don't forget to check out my new video blog that has to do with weight loss through weight loss surgery. Come follow me.